Daredevil apparently needs some big changes. I think that once it was announced that Daredevil was going to come over, after the rights on Netflix expired, and we saw Daredevil in Spider-Man No Way Home. We saw Daredevil in She-Hulk. People, I think, got excited to be like, okay, Daredevil's coming back. Now, even if you were excited to see Daredevil come back, who, by the way, probably had one of the best live action TV shows ever for Marvel on Netflix. There was some apprehension. There was some concern. I mean, we saw in She-Hulk, he came back and he wasn't as violent as he was before. It was kind of toned down. It was like a little bit more jokey, and people were kind of like, do we really want Disney handling this? And they did get rid of their entire cast and crew, except for the main characters. Like the main, Charlie Cox is back, Vincent D'Onofrio's back, but Foggy, not so much. Karen, not so much. So there are some things to be excited about that he's back into the MCU, but there are also things to be concerned about. Like, what do you do when you had a show that's been better than anything you've done? I think Daredevil on Netflix is better than Loki. I think it's better than WandaVision. I think it's better than almost anything Marvel Studios has made on their end in terms of TV. That's a lot. That's a tall order to live up to. It's a really tall order to live up to that level of hype and expectation. But with that said, with those big expectations, it seems like Marvel has hit a very big bump in the road. And that bump in the road is causing Marvel to pause, go back to the drawing board. Because according to this report, Daredevil is going to hit a huge reset button, and Marvel is due for some big changes as they overhaul their TV business. So let's kind of go through this article. It says fewer than half of the series of 18 episodes have been shot, but it was enough for Marvel executives, including the chief Kevin Feige, to basically pull the brakes on Daredevil. Marvel quickly let go and fired Chris Ord and Matt Corman, and also released the directors for the show. And now the studio is on the hunt for new writers and directors for the project. Yikes. It said here it didn't commission pilots, so no pilot episodes were done, but instead shot entire $150 million plus seasons of TV on the fly. It didn't hire showrunners, but instead depended on film executives to run the series. It relied on post-production and reshoots to fix what was not working. Woo. First of all, y'all, I don't know if y'all saw them, but we posted this a long time ago. They already shot footage. They already shot episodes for Daredevil, Born Again. How do y'all get that far? And y'all didn't realize that this thing was trash? Y'all spent all that time and money. There's a bigger problem. But we're going to keep going. We'll keep going. And it says here that, basically the model that they were using was shoot first, fix it in post-production later. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I've told y'all that this was the same thing that Marvel's been doing for years, especially when it came to film. Y'all remember all those people? You can't recast, you can't make changes because it's in post-production. It's already wrapped. Once it's in post-production, you can't do anything. And I've told y'all, shut up, because you don't know what you're talking about. Because Marvel continuously changes things all the way until the very last day. The last day that it goes up on the big screen. They edit and change and flip and do whatever they want to do until the very last minute. But it seems like that model ain't been working, at least not for TV. It says Marvel series have recently faced a number of creative challenges and cries of diminishing returns from critics and audience metrics, causing a major shift at the studio to make TV shows more traditional. We're trying to marry the Marvel culture with the traditional television culture. Sources say that the old writers, they crafted a legal procedural that did not resemble the Netflix version, known for its action and violence. Charlie Cox didn't even show up in costume until the fourth episode. Marvel, after greenlighting the concept, found itself needing to rethink the original intention of the show. Marvel plans to keep some scenes and episodes through, though other serialized elements will be injected. Wait a minute. Wait a hot doggone minute. You mean to tell me y'all was about to give us a Daredevil series, and for 4 episodes, which means, because this is probably going to come out weekly, for a whole month, this man was never going to get in costume? And y'all shot footage of this? How did this even make it past the pre-draft of the script? Nobody looked at this? Nobody said, hey, why isn't the superhero from the superhero TV show actually doing superhero things in his superhero costume for 4 episodes? So y'all said, let's go ahead and pay the cast and crew to show up every day to shoot these episodes all the time. And y'all didn't even look at the dang on script to notice that he never even had to touch his costume? And you was going to get that to us? First of all, let me just tell you, we would have lit Marvel's tail up. They would have gotten all the heat, all the smoke. You would have gotten some vape too. If you was going to have us sit here and wait 4 weeks, a whole month, just to see Daredevil, who, by the way, this isn't like a reboot type of thing. You're talking about a character that's not brand new. You're talking about a character that had 3 whole seasons of straight fire. And you was going to make us sit and wait for 4 weeks until we see him just getting costume? Fire everybody. So, the good news here is that they at least caught it. At least they caught this nonsense before. Now, the thing that troubles me here, and I told y'all this before too, the big problem was the fact that Kevin Feige's been run very thin. Kevin Feige has not been able to keep track of everything. Kevin Feige has not been able to really figure out how to manage everything because he's been spread thin. The guy's all over the place. He's running rampant everywhere because clearly somebody dropped the ball to let this go from, hey, I have a pitch about Daredevil. Oh, okay. Hey, here's the early draft about Daredevil. Oh, okay. Hey, here's the final draft for Daredevil. Sounds good. Hey, let's go ahead and start shooting Daredevil. You got it. Hey, we're halfway through production. Hold on, stop. It's trash. Y'all got that far? So I guess better late than never. So I'm not mad at the fact that at least they caught it and they spared us, because at the very least, I would much rather you catch the fact that you messed up my food and you're going to take a little bit longer to recook my food rather than serving me garbage. I'm at least happy that you're not serving us straight up garbage, because what that sounded like, oh, that was going to be bad. That was going to be very, very bad. Let's see. So what else did they say here? Those who work with Marvel on the TV side have complained of a lack of a central vision that has, according to sources, begun to afflict the studio shows with creative differences and tension. Yikes. It says even though the company does not have a writer's first approach to TV, directors could feel shortchanged as well. The whole fix it in post attitude makes it feel like a director doesn't matter sometimes. Marvel stepped outside of its usual staffing approach and brought in outside executives after years of internally promoting creatives who had been sufficiently trained in the Marvel method. This change was felt most severely on Secret Invasion. So, for those of y'all that were wondering, why did Secret Invasion seem like it was cool, but then all of a sudden not so much? Well, if y'all recall, as we were going through the episodes, it was decent. Secret Invasion was building up early on to be one of the better shows. And then all of a sudden, they changed it up. They started bringing people that were not familiar with how Marvel does stuff, and they brought those people in. So that policy, that procedure was terrible. It was just bad. And yes, this does have to go on Kevin Feige. Why? Because you are the one that the buck stops with you, sir. This was it. So says here Kyle Bradstreet, who I think he did he did Mr. Robot. He was working on Secret Invasion for a year, and then they just replaced him. They just replaced him out of nowhere. So now you could sell why Secret Invasion didn't really work, and some parts did. It says here, as it moves forward, Marvel is making concrete changes in how it makes TV. It now plans to hire showrunners. It would be helpful for its shows to have a creative through line from start to finish. Now, let me explain why that's so important. When you look at a show that, let's say, what is it? Vince Gilliam, the dude that does Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, some of the better shows out there. When you have one showrunner that knows what they want, they see the beginning, the middle, and the end. They know what this show's supposed to be. You're not going to have the ups and downs and the ridiculous stuff. I mean, either the show's going to be good or maybe it's going to be bad, but it's going to be consistent with the vision. But when you sit here and start a show with some people and then you fire them halfway through, you keep what they gave you, then you bring in other people to try and piecemeal it together. Then you try to take that piecemeal Frankenstein show and then you try and fix stuff in post all the way to the last minute. You notice the dip off. You notice the change. You notice how it's just not right. And Marvel was doing that for far too long. But now they're starting to go back to the way TV shows have worked efficiently. I mean, we talked about Watchmen with Damon Lindelof. This guy did Watchmen as the showrunner from beginning to end, and the show is fantastic. Why? Because it's consistent. You know what it is. You got Mike Flanagan, who did Midnight Mass on Netflix, which I love. It's a slow burn, but I like Midnight Mass. It's a horror for y'all scaredy cats. Don't watch it. He also did the Fall of the House of Usher. This guy keeps getting on, or Taylor Sheridan, who does Yellowstone and all those other shows. The reason why these things are successful, not only are they well produced and well written, is because they have a common vision and they have one person that's really focused on how the show should go. You're not going to get like a vision here. 1 minute it's all dark, then the next minute it's all funny, then the next minute it's all this. And no, when you have one person that's dedicated to this property, this vision, now people can be better invested in it. So I think this is a very good thing that they are starting to move forward with a more traditional sense of how to do TV. Now, there's more to this. The studio also plans on having full-time TV execs rather than having executives do both TV and film. Oh, that is so beautiful. It says here, we need executives that are dedicated to this medium, that are going to focus on streaming, focus on television, because they are two different forms. It is also revamping its development process. Showrunners will write pilots and show Bibles. The days of Marvel shooting an entire series like She-Hulk or Secret Invasion, and then looking at what's working and what's not, are done. This is fantastic news. And just as Loki, the studio plans on leaning into the idea of multi-season serialized TV, stepping away from the limited series format that has defined it. Marvel wants to create shows that run several seasons where characters can take time to develop relationships with the audience rather than feeling as though they're just being set up for another big crossover event. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. And if you have been watching Loki, I think it's showing that it's proving itself already. Like, it's finally showing that, yes, I understand in the beginning, you wanted to have this experiment. You wanted to try this thing with the streaming shows. Sometimes it works, sometimes it just didn't. But at the end of the day, we watch TV shows more likely than not for the story, sounds familiar, and the characters. And Loki season 2 right now is doing exactly that. We're getting Loki, who got developed so beautifully in season 1, and we're getting the character come back with more story, more development, more challenges, and now we're invested. I don't care where Loki goes. I don't care where the storyline takes off. I don't care what gets set up. I am now invested in the character and story of Loki. I want to see a season 3 or a season 4 because the character of Loki and his story, his journey is interesting. I don't care if it sets up secret Kang Dynasty. I don't care. If it does, that's fine, but I'm going to come back to Loki, and that's the way these shows should be. Now, I do let me give Marvel a little credit here because I think sometimes we get lost in the sauce when things go very good and when things get very bad. When things go very well, we get lost and we be like, oh, more, more. And we take that for granted. And when things go bad, when Marvel starts to put out a couple things that don't work, we start saying, hey, Marvel is done. Comic book movie fatigue. Marvel is trash, right? You see those type of things where people just like more, or you're done, you're finished, you're done. But the thing is, the reality of it is, we've seen what happens when another studio keeps trying to do things that don't work and they don't change. We've seen what that's like. We've seen what that's like for over a decade. But Marvel, on the other hand, the one thing you can say about them, whether you're a hater or a lover about them, they do change. And they have my respect for that. I respect the fact that they're willing to try different things. I respect the fact that when they do mess up, because they're not perfect, when they do mess up, they take the time to figure it out and to try something different. That is literally the least we can ask for from any creative body. Nobody expects perfection. When you give us the good stuff, that's great. When you fail, at least learn from your mistakes and do something better. Just don't keep doing the same verse. I don't want to say it. Don't stick with the same cuts, the same verses. If it doesn't work, try something different. And Marvel, to their credit, has been doing something different. You haven't seen anything like the MCU ever in your life. You haven't seen streaming stuff the way that they've been doing it ever in your life. We've seen them fail. We've seen them rise up and do better. And this, at least, even though I don't like the timing of it, I don't like the fact that it took them this long to figure it out. I respect the fact that they saw something was wrong with Daredevil, something was wrong with how their other shows were performing, and they're willing to change it up. So, you know what, Marvel, you get my respect with that. So, with that said, guys, how do you feel about this news with Daredevil? Does it encourage you that maybe Marvel's going to get their stuff together? Does it worry you that maybe there are more cracks in the armor that we just haven't gotten to yet? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments down below. Oh, and are you optimistic for future Marvel TV series? Whatever you think, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. This was just a segment of one of my live chats, and if you're interested in joining in on the next one, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for more. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.